Welcome back, Sports Card Culture Podcast number 33, John.
Who are they today?
I was saying Scottie Pippen. You're saying who?
Larry Bird. No, I'm not saying that. Evan's saying
Now,
that.
believe it or not, Shaq actually wore 33 as well, so you can throw him in the mix. Kareem.
When did he wear 33? 34?
I want to say it was 32 with the Magic, 34 with the Lakers, so it must have been like Miami or one of those other Cleveland
yeah,
stops
Miami.
or-
That makes sense.
I mean, the guy literally played everywhere for a while. Suns. He played for the Suns. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Shaq played for the Suns. So weird.
That's that Dominique Wilkins Celtics.
33
Yes.
Cavs.
Cavs.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
So,
the Cavs.
John, we're back. It's been over a week since we returned from
Right.
Chicago.
Right.
It was a 12-day stretch of nonstop.
I never did
shows.
count the days. Was it 12? I kept saying 11, but I never counted.
If you
it.
count the travel day to Des Moines and then you count
Thursday.
Monday after
Thursday,
Des Moines
Friday,
traveling
Saturday, Sunday,
back.
that's 4 plus 11.
11?
12 because
But-
of Monday on the way back.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't actually a show day, but it was a travel day.
No,
So
12
we were on the
12
road
days.
for 12 straight
12
days.
days. Yeah.
We're back. How are you feeling?
I thought my story would be much cleaner than it is. The getting back in order is now some of that's because of a small tragedy, but but turned out to be good luck. We'll talk about that later.
Nice.
But yeah, and then of course the first day back, I bought like 4 lots of stuff, so
Nice.
had to process that right away. So
Nice.
I'm a little behind on getting it back in order.
Well, and then we even had Bloomington this last week. So we came back, and then the show this week in Bloomington was actually really,
How
really
was
good.
it?
It was the best club show since probably April.
Oh,
For me personally, as
For the
far
high.
as far
Yeah.
as what I thought attendance and like money being spent, trades happening.
very cool.
A lot
Now,
of people.
Would you say we're about to go? Ooh, I'll wait on that question until we go a little further.
Okay.
So we talked for just about 2 minutes before we started taping. We are going to try and do a chronological, the best we can remember it. And
Yes.
bear in mind, I can't tell a linear story, so we're going to be the one jumping around the most.
Sure.
But we're going to try to start with the day we left
Mm-hmm.
to the end, and we'll try. Most likely, this will be 2 episodes. So,
Yes. Yeah.
once we get
National
too long
Week
in the
is
tooth,
like this
we'll-
is like the Super Bowl of our year. This
Absolutely.
Is the,
Well, and the Super Bowl only took 1 episode, so
yeah, the
it's
Super-
bigger than the
yeah,
Super
this
Bowl.
is bigger than the Super Bowl. This is the sports card mecca.
Absolutely.
Week of the National.
All right, so let's get into it. Thursday, what do we do?
Well, I actually unpacked my. I took the last load of stuff from my apartment to the condo I just bought, and then loaded up my car and left. So it was like a crazy whirlwind for me to like have bought a house, moved.
And when did you settle on that house?
I closed on the 12th, and I basically spent the next week moving until
Okay.
we left. So literally, when we left
So
for
what
Des
day
Moines,
did we leave here?
Yeah,
I
this
think
is-
this is part of the problem.
this is
so
wild. we left on the 22nd.
22nd
July.
to Diamond Joe's.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I came in like really late.
Yeah.
I don't remember why. I think I just had
Well, you were getting ready to leave for a long
Yeah.
time. You weren't coming back, whereas I was coming back. in
That's
between.
true. And then I think I just kept getting postponed. The other thing too is my front tire in my car was low on air as I'm pulling out fully loaded. I'm like, uh-oh. So I dropped out. I dropped at the service station down the road, and I'm like, can you just pump the air in to the right amount? And so he did that and put a couple extra pounds in there. And so I was worried about that tire the whole trip. I never even mentioned that.
So you were
to him.
loaded down with boxes.
But
of
here's the thing,
wax
like,
and-
it's low again, so there must be a really small
Small
leak.
leak,
But
yeah.
it went like 600 miles without doing it.
without an issue. So that's good. You didn't.
That's
you
good
didn't-
luck.
Yeah.
So
That's a good
one of the
start.
things that you'll find is the last week has been the luckiest week of my life.
Blessed.
Blast, whatever you want to use. And it started that trip with that tire. Like,
Yeah.
the tire lasted, you know.
Right.
I even forgot about it while we were in the midst of it.
Are we even talking about? Do we want to talk about the Diamond Joe's or jump right into the show?
Yeah, I mean,
Going
what
there?
do we do, Diamond Joe's? You
Well, I
taught
got-
me to play Ultimate Hold'em.
And I got
that was
I
cool.
got banned from playing blackjack again. You know,
At where?
at Diamond Joe's.
Oh, that's right. You play. That's
The guy.
Oh yeah, we do gotta call that. So I take a pit stop. I'm like 45 minutes out or 30 minutes out of Diamond Joe's. It's 11:30 or midnight or something, and I call you just to say, hey, I checked my text to see what room number it was, and you said I got a classic story for you, and I go, Did I call you or text? Yeah, I texted you
yeah.
because my phone wasn't working at the time. And and you go, it's a classic story. And he goes, you want me to tell you or want me to wait? I go, just wait. And I got in the car. I turned on the engine. I go, I already know what the story is. So then I show up and you tell me what the story is.
So the story is I sit down and start playing blackjack, and I'm doing fairly well counting cards, playing by myself. So playing by yourself, you know, get a bunch of hands in. When it gets good, you go up to 2 hands, and boom, you can rapid fire.
And can you make more money when you're by yourself, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I
With the
mean,
time.
it's easier to count. It's easier to just
Okay.
be in control.
I
of,
assume.
yeah, make the right decisions, and you know, whatever.
And no one's making
And you're not
that
worried
bad.
about, like having to socialize with someone necessarily
Oh,
to
okay.
like, you know, which can be distracting. So I think I'm up like 900 at this point, and the
And how long have you been playing?
like 45 minutes,
Okay.
and someone
45
comes, and someone
minutes.
comes, not a pit boss, not a dealer, some sort of executive comes out of the back room.
Do you see him come out or do they...
All of a sudden, he just shows
Appear.
up behind me, and he's wearing like a suit and stuff. Like he's dressed
Oh,
differently.
okay.
He's
He
not
doesn't have
wearing
that
their-
polo shirt on.
And he's
or
like,
whatever.
Mr. Wolcyn, can I talk with you?
You're like,
I'm
I never told you my name.
I'm like, and at this point, a couple people had just sat down. They were part of this wedding.
Did
party.
you check in with your rewards card or not?
I didn't have a rewards card, but they asked for my ID to give me a rewards card, which I don't know if that had anything to do with it. But he had in his hand at the time a piece of paper with my picture on it,
That's
which
awesome.
is pretty funny. And he goes, "You're in our database as an advantage player. They call you an advantage player if you count cards." And he's like, "You know, we're not kicking you out here, but we're not going to take your action in blackjack. So you can play anything else. You can play video.
And he spelled that out for you.
He's like, you can
play the
lose
other
money in slots. We'll let you lose money in all the ways we know you'll lose money. But if you're gonna win, we're gonna protect.
Now
our
you did tell me
personal
when I
interest.
showed up. So what happened was I show up to the room and I go, you go, John, you want to play? I'm like, can I guess? You
Yeah.
got banned, did it? Yeah.
Yeah,
And he's
yeah.
like, oh yeah, you know.
But it was a good start.
So you were explaining to me the percentages. So what's the percentage if you're a perfect player but you're not counting?
So if you play perfect basic strategy, the house's edge is only about 2%.
And then what is it when you're counting?
When you're counting, my edge can be as high as 5% against the
Yeah,
house.
so that's a big swing.
So I can flip the house. So I'll say this much: an average player who doesn't play perfect, who plays okay, like they don't split and double properly,
No,
but they don't like do terrible things like hitting hard 17s or like you know what I mean, stuff that just no one does. Their edge the house's edge against them is about 5%. The average person playing blackjack, the edge is 5% against them. For me, I'm the house towards them. I have 5% against the house.
Right. So it's almost a full
and like
swing.
I'll say this, Diamond Joe's as a smaller casino, their table maximum there I think was 500. It would be hard for me to really damage them, but if I came in with the shoe got really good, I mean I could take 20, 30,000 and that would be significant to them.
And how long would that take you?
I mean it could happen in one shoe. It could happen in 2 shoes.
So that takes what, 30 minutes?
I mean, I had one hand at the end of a different session where the count was so high. I went table max on both hands, 300 on each.
Wow.
Hit blackjack on both.
Oh wow.
So I was forfeit. So I won 900 on one hand.
Jeez.
So I mean, the house doesn't want to lose a bunch that quick.
Yeah.
You know, and Vegas, it's totally different. You'd have to be playing extremely high stakes to be a threat to them.
So if you won 900 in a big Vegas casino, they wouldn't even care.
No, they wouldn't even care.
Like
They've never
900
backed
bucks.
me off yet.
Okay.
Like backing off is when they acknowledge they know what you're doing and they decide to not take your action.
No, it's backing
it's
off.
not illegal.
No, it's not illegal.
It's not.
It's
They're
not
not.
even immoral.
They're not
You're playing
They're
the
not
game.
charging me of a crime or anything. There's no
No.
like.
Well, I mean, it's
trespassing.
not even immoral. You're
Yeah.
playing the game perfectly.
I'm just
Like,
playing better than they are.
Well, they have to play it only
Yeah.
one way.
Yeah, they can only, and it's the only game in the house where the previous information affects the future outcome.
Right.
Whereas a slot machine, it's totally random. Like
Right.
some people say they got to feel. It's like whatever. There's no math behind it. There's no like concrete, numbers.
Yeah, I
supporting
was talking to a customer about some gambling, and he said, "Well, I think the slot machines are programmed to like not hit big." I go, and that's not true because they have to report how many winnings they give out per. So it's like 96%.
They give back like most of them are between 90 and 95.
Yeah, and
Vegas
so
are a lot higher.
They have to
back
give
more.
a jackpot, otherwise, how would they be able to give back that much?
Think about it. If they're giving back 95%, that means every dollar
Right.
you're putting in, they're getting
You're
5
You're
cents.
losing a nickel.
They
yeah.
want you to just and they want to give it back to you once in a while.
Right.
So you get this false sense of winning.
Well, yeah. I mean, we always hear about the story. I won $5,000 on a slot machine, and then you play slots tomorrow.
Yeah.
So then
Slots are
I
awful.
get there. You tell me the story that I already knew.
Yep.
And then we went back down and we played blackjack on the video on the big screen with the dealer.
Computer,
and I like that one because I told you, I was like, it was nice. It's nice not to have that person there.
Yep.
Because there's a timer. Although you started
Right.
rushing me, you're like, just hit the button. I'm like, 10 seconds, chill out, yo. You're like,
Chill out, yo.
right, but it's kind of nice not having that pressure of other people looking at you like, hey, make a move, I want to play. I like that. And then I end up $80,
Yep,
$100,
and then we went
and
to
you were helping
Ultimate.
me a lot.
Yep. Then we went to the ultimate game, which
Yeah, and
Is
that
that-
one
it's
took
a-
a little while.
and it's a table game, but you make a hold'em hand. Basically,
Right.
there's a flop turn river.
And so you're
You have
playing
2
against the
cards.
dealer.
Yep. And so that's where understanding hold'em basic pre-flop
Yeah.
strategy. You can 3 and 4 bet. It's a fun game. Now that game actually, if you 4 bet properly pre-flop, the edge is very close to blackjack. It's like 1.5 to 2.5%.
Wow.
So
Yeah, and
it's still a losing game.
It took me
But-
probably over an hour to
Figure it
really
out.
understand the betting of
Right.
it. Like I kind of understood what hands to play. You guys did a good job, and even the dealer is helping you.
Yeah.
Tell you what to do. Because if their edge is 1%, then
Right.
they'll help you all they want. They still got their 1%, or
Right.
their 2%. And then once something happened where I went, oh, okay, got it. And then after that, I felt a lot more comfortable playing the game. I really like that game.
It's a great game. I told you, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast, but when I went to Deadwood, I taught my dad the game,
Yeah.
and his 6th hand, he hit the royal flush.
Right.
Unbelievable. Like,
And then what's the
just-
payout on that? I mean, I don't want to get too nitty-gritty.
It's 500 to 1 on the blind bet. So he had the minimum 5 out there. You can make $2,500 on that bet.
That's nuts.
I was betting like 20 or 25. I would have won 25.
So this is a game. If you have, I think you should have someone that teaches you how to play,
Yes.
and it's going to take you It's really simple. It's not a hard game at all.
Nope.
But like, once you crack that how to bet part,
Yep.
then it becomes a really easy and a slow game. So if you like to play at the table, and you don't want to rest a bunch of money in a short period of time, especially for the full table, it takes forever to
If
play.
you just play $5 and
Yeah.
you 4-bet once in a while when you should,
You're,
but
you're
it's
not
yeah,
going
no.
to like lose your wad.
And
very
you
quickly.
still have a chance of hitting the
Absolutely.
progressive, which was 100,000 there if you
Right.
flop the royal. So
And so that was a
was
lot of fun. So we ended up go to bed, leave in the morning.
yep, Friday morning we roll to Des
Because
Moines.
we got part of the reason why we stopped in Diamond Joe is we had to be set up by noon.
Yep.
Right? And so it was like it was 2 hours to Diamond Joe, it was 4 hours to Des Moines. Cutting that by 2 makes it a lot easier.
And it was
to get
nice
there.
when we got there that our booth was one big rectangle. So like
Yeah.
we were inside the same booth that one of us could basically kind of
watch the whole
watch
thing,
the whole
absolutely.
thing, you know.
We ended up doing it where I was sitting looking out one way and you were sitting out kind of looking the other way, so we could actually watch both
Yep.
sides at the same time.
Easily.
Yeah.
And what do you think total dealers set up were there? I never
know what it is.
Okay.
So, because I asked.
Yep.
So first off, like when we're loading up, there are 2 main promoters.
Yep.
Both really nice guys.
And they were so
Like,
this was
super nice
located in downtown Des Moines, right next to where
The wild play.
Yep, the Iowa Wild actually had their team office was literally right next door to the door we walked into. Did you see that?
Oh, no, I didn't see
so,
that.
So
That's
you
cool.
walked into ballroom A or whatever, and the door right to the left, which is interesting. I saw through the weekend one of our regular customers, who's a big hockey collector who used to live in the Twin Cities, now works for the Iowa Wild.
Oh, cool.
And he's in the marketing season ticket side. So I actually got to talk to him about. He's like, yeah,
cool.
this is our building. Like, this is where I office and work every day. I'm like, that's
Yeah, so
cool.
the way it works is like right downtown Des Moines. And Des Moines, if you haven't been, is a legitimate city. Like
Yep, they have a
tall
downtown.
buildings,
Yep.
not horrible traffic, but
What's
cars.
what's population, like 250,000 or something? It's like
Yeah, well,
I'm
metro
looking
area,
for this.
metro area is probably like 400,000 maybe.
yeah.
So like legit players. No, the arena's on one side, the event center's on the other side of the street, and there was a girls' basketball tournament going on. This was like in the basement. So the 2 promoters, really nice guys. We get in there, and we set up, and I had asked them what, I can't remember even which one I asked. Not that I remembered anybody's name, because I'm horrible at remembering names. He said that, so here's the problem. They was doing booth, half food. There was something else that they were selling, and then tables, right? So it's kind of hard to tell how many they sold because it wasn't an equal unit.
Sure.
But he said there was 100 different dealers.
100 dealers.
Yeah, 100 different
Like
dealers.
I knew
It might
one
be like
guy who was
105,
definitely
but about
splitting.
100.
But I don't know if he would have. See, some people split their booth, but they only signed up with them
Right.
under one name.
So there could have been
yeah,
another 20% bump,
Sure.
maybe. So like 120. Now that space is easily a 300 dealer space. Like it was a
Yep.
big space.
Right.
And so, couple problems with the show. I've come to, so I'm one of those guys where I'll be like, I'm a glass half full guy for as pessimistic as I am. I don't know how that works, but I'm like, no, this is cool. You can build on this and whatever.
Yeah.
By the time I got to the end of the show, I'm like, this isn't a good show. And it was,
just not enough traffic.
there was enough people. There wasn't enough people.
Yeah, no, there wasn't.
And they were charging $15 to get in, right?
Oh, they charged them to get in. I didn't know
Yeah,
that. That was
I
a mistake.
realized that at the end. I didn't really, because I was
Yeah.
worried about the dealer cost. I wasn't worried so much
Yeah.
about the admission. I don't know if I ever looked at it. And so it was $5 cheaper than, I want to verify that because that's just what I remember. But if that's the case, then it's $5 cheaper than the national.
Now
It
I'll
doesn't make any
I'll
sense.
say this: the timing related to Chicago for me on the buy side was definitely the highlight.
Right.
Every card I bought to sell, to flip, not to collect, I sold in Chicago.
Why didn't you go, I'm going to look this up, and
Yeah.
why didn't you go through some of the buys that you made? 'Cause you
Yep.
made some nice
So I remember this being day 2. We were kind of debating about this beforehand.
ones. I
but
think it was Saturday. Yeah, it would have been Saturday.
Yeah. So
Friday.
there
Friday
was a
the
dealer.
first
Well,
day.
and I had numerous conversations with dealers who, interestingly enough, said this is the first show they've ever done, John.
Oh, wow.
So you have rural collectors who
First
you
show
know,
they ever attended?
no,
or first
ever
show they ever
sold at. No, ever
dealt
sold
at?
at.
Okay.
ever sold at. Multiple guys, all lined up in one row along the far back
Oh,
side.
funny.
And the card I found there was a 2010 Pro Debut Mike Trout on-card auto. So for those of you listening that don't know, Mike Trout played for the Cedar Rapids Colonels, which
Right.
is, about 2 hours from Des Moines?
Hour and a half, yeah.
So an hour and a half from Des Moines, a lot of people, this guy specifically, went to the game
Yeah.
in 2010 with this card.
And that's where you would go if you were in Des Moines, because Des Moines has
Yep.
the Iowa Cubs, but then 90 minutes down the road you can see, another team.
The Angels team.
Yeah, Angels team.
And maybe the Cubs are over there playing them too, and
Right.
so he goes. I ask him the story on the card because it's not authenticated. And I pull up some photos of one. I find one that's graded by PSA, that had sold actually for $4,600. And I looked at the auto and it looked right. It doesn't look like Mike Trout's current auto.
Right. So one of the things people need to know about autographs is players will change their autograph over time, and generally as they get more popular, the autograph suffers.
Yep.
So the early autographs.
This
tend to
one,
be better
Trout,
than the later ones.
it doesn't. I don't think it suffers as much as it just looks different. It has his
Oh, no,
M's
right.
and his
Some-
T's now have like loops in them that they're super straight
Right.
lines then. And so I looked at the card. I felt really comfortable with it. First of all, and this is just a piece of advice for anyone buying on-card autos that aren't authenticated. The story.
Yeah.
So if I'm in the middle of Kansas and
Yeah.
I'm at a show and I see this card, and it's not authenticated. It's like this
wanna
makes
say,
sense,
how'd you
right?
get it?
Yeah, this makes sense. The guy's like, oh, I went to the game.
Oh, yeah.
I asked him how much. I had no idea, and I don't know if people didn't ask him, and so like he
didn't have price
he
on
didn't have prices
Oh,
on him.
okay.
He didn't have everything stickered. So I asked how much. He said $300, which after I had looked and seen the value of that sale price, I knew I was not going to walk away from the booth without the card.
Right.
But I offered him $250
Sure.
because why wouldn't you?
Classic.
Classic. I mean, I'm not going to just pay full price.
Right,
I
right.
very, very, very rarely just pay full price, unless someone has a huge mistake
right.
on their card. Because I knew too, if I'm going to get it authenticated, anytime in the next year, it's going to cost me
The other thing
$200.
too is you are taking a risk of it not passing.
Yeah, it could absolutely not pass, and I just lit $300 on fire. So
And by the way, that's even if it's a good auto.
yeah,
There can be real
100%. They don't pass. They just don't pass. So I ended up buying the car for $300, stashing it away. I made 2 or 3 other purchases at the table. I bought a couple other small things, but I don't know if you remember, but there was a couple deals I did where guys. There was more trading.
Yeah.
Seemed like wanting to be happening on high end stuff, and I was
Right.
able to make a couple trades that I felt like I came out ahead on. One of them specifically, I got a Prism PSA 10 Lillard rookie,
Yeah,
and,
I remember
and
that.
an Optic Blue Velocity 9.5 Luca rookie.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave the guy $800 cash, which was a really good deal. I think comps on them it was about half price.
Okay.
Both of those cards I sold the first full day at the National for about $1,600. So
Right, so you
that
almost
buy
doubled
was
money right
like
there.
that was good.
And
The
then
trout was a good buy.
You made all your money plus some for
Yep.
that trip.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so to me, I also connected with a few guys that we almost got a big deal done on that X-Fractor, a guy who had a bunch of wax who I ended up talking to in Chicago.
Right.
It was fun. There was the biggest sales I did were actually to a guy that I do sales with at every show he's at because he buys for a repack, and he just happened to be there.
Right.
Jason Gillespie is. And so that pretty much saved my show kind of on the sales side.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I think it was worth the experience. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
our living arrangement was amazing.
Oh, absolutely. So let's go back. So I looked it up. It was $10 for a day pass,
Okay.
and they're doing like $25 for a weekend pass, and they're gonna limit that to 500. It's like they didn't need to limit anything.
No.
There wasn't enough attendance.
No.
One of the things I talked about with Matt and I talked about with you is if the first show and they want to do the show April and October, I think that's the tentative when they want to have these shows. And what got me, this kind of goes back to Dell's, right?
Yep.
My problem I had with Dell's,
Yep.
with all those empty tables back there. This floor was full of empty tables everywhere in such a big space.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, when you walked in as a customer, I could look and I go, oh, this is sparingly. Now,
Yep.
it wasn't. There's 100 dealers. 100 dealers is a big show.
Yep, it's bigger than like the club show
And
here.
so one of the things was on the first day, we get there and you say, hey, can I get an extra table? And he goes, $50. And you know, you pay for it and everything. But I'm like, bro, like, you should have been like, all right, everybody, here's the deal. We're setting up. You guys got 2 booths, now you got 4. You got a table, now you got 3. Can you handle double space? He should have had everybody spread out so that when the customers got there, they're like, look at this majestic place full of cards, right? And it's the same thing as Dell's, where it's just the back row, wasn't like this,
Right.
but it's like you can't have emptiness. Either that, or he could have condensed.
Well, let me ask
all
you
the
this,
dealers in a
John.
smaller space.
Here's the problem he's facing is it's kind of which comes first, the chicken or the egg. You want to get dealers,
Yeah.
but you got to get customers. In order to get customers, you got to have dealers. And so
Right.
it's like, how do
So
you?
here's the thing.
you know.
Instead of selling a table to you, and 3 people might have bought a table? If
Right.
that, maybe you were the only person that bought a table.
Yeah.
He was able to claw back $50. So instead you say, hey, okay, we're not as full as we want it to be.
Yep.
Let's spread out. The tables are there. They're paid for. It's done.
Yep.
It's what we call in accounting a sunk cost. It's
Sunk
just done.
expense,
Your
yep.
clawback on $50 a table or whatever, nothing, right?
Right.
Get that spread out. Now the dealers are like, well, you know,
What was the cost on the table again? $200.
it's $300 for a booth, and then a table's like $125.
So we each had booths.
Yeah.
So we each paid $300.
Yeah, so $600. And so
I'm trying to think though, for a 3-day show, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Bloomington for that space right now, I pay $100
but here's the deal.
just for Saturday.
Would you say that Bloomington, the club show, had more attendance last week than the Des Moines show had?
Yes. Well, it's hard to know
For the
'cause
weekend
space
or for
looks
one of the
different.
days?
No, the club show had more. It had about as much probably as our Saturday attendance,
Yeah.
but that room is a lot bigger. So, like you said, it's the room
spread
in Des
out.
Moines was.
So,
yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
like, this is a monthly regular show. Got about the same attendance as.
But I'll say this
This
much:
one.
if you're listening, and you're a dealer or a collector, and you want to buy
yeah.
high-end stuff at a discount,
Mm-hmm.
setting up with the like,
Absolutely.
let's say I would have gone. I didn't have this goal, but if I would have gone and said my goal is I want to buy $25,000 worth of stuff
Right.
to resell at a discount, I could have bought some really good stuff because
absolutely.
I the only stuff I bought was stuff that was literally I was buying around like 50 and 60%. If I would have advertised I'm buying at 70, I think I could have bought a lot more.
Actually, throw up that sign, paying 70% comps.
70% comps.
Graded.
And
you know.
actually leave a whole table open for buying, signs, and then be
And
sitting
people
there.
will do that.
you know.
They'll leave a gap on their table with usually like a play mat for a game or for MTG.
Yep.
But then it's like a kind of a fancy place to do a deal.
Yep.
That's a really smart thing to do if you really
That
want
would be a show. See, I would not want to do that at like the Fanatic show in Chicago or the National or some of these
other.
other.
It's a selling show.
It's a selling show. This could be a very good buying show. I would strongly consider going back for that purpose.
And the trick is, so I've said this a few times, is like I'd go back and get a table.
Yep.
And not as nice of a house.
Right. Or bring
maybe
or
cheaper
split it
house.
or split it with three
Put a
ways
hotel or
yeah.
whatever, you know. Or do a booth and then go with three other guys.
Yeah,
two other guys,
another
maybe,
dealer
or
or
two
two.
other guys.
Yep.
And utilize that. But so to go back, what I would have done, I would have called the audible. I would have spread everybody out. Then all the dealers are like, okay, fine. It's not fully sold out, which is not good.
Yep.
But hey, look, man, like I got all this extra space, and there was plenty of dealers there that could have had 4 times the space, and you know they got piles in the display case. They could have spread out no problem. We could have spread out no problem. And then when the customer came in, the customer experience would have been so much better. One thing I liked was they had some vintage apparel dealers there, and I bought a couple things off them. That was really cool. That's something that
I actually saw one of the rarest cards I've seen at a show this size ever. I saw a top 5 Kobe Bryant insert of all time, the Jambalaya.
Oh yeah.
In a PSA 5. I did not see one of those at the National.
Oh wow.
No, I didn't but I looked in hundreds of cases briefly, and I never saw one. So literally, we're in Des Moines, and this guy goes, "Yeah, I'm consigning it for my buddy. We just got it great." I'm just like, "This is a card I would have bet $100 that I was not going to see."
No, the Jambalaya is that really a foiled out card. And
No,
it's like die cut and stuff.
It's like a circular, and it's got like a.
It's a lot of foil, yeah.
It's not foil. It's how do I put it? The surface has texture to it.
Yeah,
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like Noise Boy's card.
Okay,
It's
I
like
know
the
what you're
material.
talking about. No.
And specifically, like, I mean, a Jordan Jambalaya, like, I want to say a 9 might be close to 100,000.
Wow.
I mean,
that was probably like 1 in 312 or something like that. 286.
He had, I want to say, 15,000 on a PSA 5.
Yeah.
The back of it had like literally this finger indentation where like it was a significant surface issue on the back.
Thing where the edge is like busted.
It's like pushed up.
Yeah.
Yep. And like
and
it's like multiple layers of the
that
card.
can come out of the pack like that.
Yeah, I think it probably did.
Yeah.
And I actually told him, I said, it probably wouldn't be the worst idea to even like either send it to Beckett and try to get a higher grade or just authenticate it with PSA.
Right,
but
right.
I mean, the 5, it's like, but like I looked him up. I want to say there's like 30 graded higher than a 5. I like pulled it up on my phone. I was like, I couldn't believe. I'm like, I can't believe I'm seeing this card right now. Like a Kobe or a Jordan Gem. I've never seen a Jordan Gem line.
Oh, you're saying there's only 30 in existence higher than a 5.
Right, by PSA.
No,
like that card is like, wow.
Yeah,
and I actually thought about buying it. I'm just like, but anyway.
So so I had one big sale. Which
I was gonna say you had your record sale.
Paid
all
for
time.
my paid for my whole show, paid for the house, and paid for the trip down there, and paid for the booth.
Nice.
And that was, I sold the Jay-Z top total autograph.
Nice.
And I just looked it up. Matt was here. What up, Matt? Matt was here
What's
before
up,
you
Matt?
guys got here. And he goes, "How much you pay for that?" And I'm like, I couldn't quite remember what I paid. I remember I had bid.
Let me guess. $230.
No. I bid a top chrome auto up to $420, and I was out. And then 2 weeks later, I was complaining about how I missed out on the chrome to a customer, and I said, "Let me see what's there." And this one was a top total, but it was that 6-month period where JSA and BGS were like, BGS would slab it, JSA would authenticate it. And what I found out was right after that, BGS goes, "Oh, we're just going to authenticate our own stuff now.
Yeah,
we don't need JSA."
Yeah.
So it had that. It was in a slab, which was cool.
Yep.
And I got 1,400.
So was it not a pack inserted auto, or it was?
Oh, yeah.
That's weird that they would authenticate it then.
Well,
but I guess they
one
were
of
just
the
doing
things,
that.
the guy who bought it from me, who was, from what I can tell, he's a very refined collector. So he was
a
also
dealer,
a dealer,
too.
at,
Yeah, he's a
another,
dealer.
at a
I saw him in
fast
Chicago, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Multiple times I saw him. He's
Yeah,
behind me in line at Panini.
Yeah, what the heck? Like, he said he was stop by my booth. But, like, a few people I didn't see him, so they didn't get back there. But he had said that people were taking the authentication sticker on the back and then moving them.
Oh, okay.
And there's something about the sticker, and I can't remember how exactly he was arguing went down. I understood it in the moment.
Yeah.
But like I don't think that way. Like how do I scam a card? So,
Right.
But it was something about like you could take a sticker from one Jay-Z and then move it to another one and then use the whatever.
Was it a sticker auto or an on card?
The sticker.
Okay.
Yeah, they're all stickers. Jay-Z's not gonna.
Is
sit
the
down and
top
sign
is the
cards.
Topps Chrome one a sticker too?
Yeah, they're all stickers. I
Oh.
don't think he has one that's hard signed.
Wow.
No, yeah. There's
So
no
if you
such thing.
if you get a hard signed, if you could get him to sign a card.
Oh yeah, and he
It
has
would be-
base cards and all those sets.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so I did $1,400 on that. I paid $650 for it, and then that was to buy it now. And I was like, and at the time there was nothing under $1,000 other than that card. So I'm like,
Yeah.
done. I bought it in February. I didn't realize
Oh.
that it held on to it that long.
So what did you pay?
$650.
$650. Okay.
Yeah, so $650 was a $357. I made $750 and $350 in about 6 months,
Nice.
which is a great deal.
Especially in this current market, guys, where a lot of people are like talking about prices going down. There's a card that even in the midst of the down market, that card went
I
up.
bought it at
Yeah.
the top of the market.
Yeah,
Top of the market was February.
You bought it at the top of the market, and it's
At top of the market as a whole,
The
not
whole of the
necessarily
market.
the market of Jay-Z.
right.
Right now, there a first row one. This is a set that they only made for 1 year, maybe, or maybe 2 years. It's just not a very widely known set. One auction just went for like 900. You know, that just under. But we're talking about a card that nobody even knows exists. With the top total of
Yep.
a set that people know about. I think they made that for 5 or 6 years.
And that card is considered a Jay-Z rookie.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
06 was the first year they did any.
I just looked up my finest refractor Jay-Z. It looks like that's worth about $350 raw.
Nice.
And so those have gone up.
Now,
quite a
was
bit.
that the year he started ownership with the Nets? Is that
Yeah.
why? Okay.
And the reason why I remember that, because I remember the set was Jay-Z, and then it had 4 women in the set. It was Carmen Electra, Shannon Elizabeth, Christy Brinkley, and I always forget the last one. And it was, I'm always like, I get Jay-Z. Jay-Z
Yep.
just bought, and I remember thinking of as I was open box of the finest. I was like,
Yep.
I get the Jay-Z. I mean, like, he owns part of the net. I don't understand these ladies, right? I always thought it was a silly subset other than the Jay-Z. The Jay-Z by himself would have been great.
Yeah.
And they must have, I wish we could get a story on that subset.
There might be. We'll have to Google it.
I should probably look that up. So, yeah, I made the best sell. Other than that, though, I probably only did 400 maybe. Like, it wouldn't even paid for
Did you sell any other wax?
I sold like
you
one
brought a
box
bunch
of all the wax. So I had a client of mine who I did a bunch of business on K-Bid with. He came at me with a ton of wax from like 74 to like 82 for the most part, a little bit of 90 stuff.
Mhm.
And it was really oddball. We're talking like 1980 Leaf helmets, 84 Dragon's Lair, 79 Crazy Labels, 76, what was the other sticker parody? Stick It To 'Em, insult stickers, Bo Derek.
And what was the story on this? Was this an inventory left over from a store?
So his dad owned a salvage business. I want to say he started in the 50s and it closed down in the early 2000s. And they have been for a period of time cleaning out that warehouse. I've already sold a bunch of stuff on K-Bid for him. So
Yeah.
he had all those figurines, all those sports impression figurines. So I removed those on auction. And I've probably done maybe 3 big chunks on them for K-Bid.
Okay.
And so then, like, 3 weeks before the National, he was like, hey, I got some sports cards. I'm like, I want to look at that.
Yeah.
And then he brought it in. I'm like, okay, this is weird stuff. Now, at first, I thought the helmets weren't going to be worth anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. I find out at the National, these were test issues. And from what I can ascertain, is Leaf, based in Chicago, had released them to the upper Midwest to see how well they would sell.
Mm-hmm.
They must not have sold very well because they didn't do a nationwide release of them. So they're extremely limited. Because I go to eBay and I'm seeing like lots of like 30 helmets sell for $90. I'm like, well, that doesn't make. Because you're thinking like it's the quarter helmet you get out of the vending machine.
Like,
it was not.
Yeah,
it was not. And then there was football ones. So
well, and keep in mind, as you're listening, like we talk a lot about pop reports. We talk about rarity in sports cards. Rarity, when there's demand, specifically increases price. Sometimes, though, something is so obscure,
Right.
it's not collected enough for it to actually be worth more than something else that there's more of that's collected more.
That is true. But the other refinement to that is
because
extremely rare. You have the buyer is rare.
The buyer,
and
yes,
so the value
yes,
still
yes.
may be very high,
but the
number of buyers
Yes.
is actually very small.
That's a great point.
And so
Yeah.
your Babe Ruth was kind of like that.
And so also you keep in mind if you're buying that as a dealer, the speed of sale
Right.
goes down, which probably means your offer when buying should be lower.
Right.
I mean, we don't always quite. There's no way to calculate because you don't actually know how quick it will sell.
Especially on this stuff because there are none. There's no sales.
Now there was a guy there that was set up behind us who had vintage wax. Remember that non-sports? He had Star Wars boxes and stuff, and he looked at your boxes.
Coming out. He right as we were setting up, he was like very interested. Right.
Yep.
One of the things I had was a product called 1972 Donruss Vote, and so these were just stickers that were designs. And
Did they all say vote?
They would say vote. It would be a flag sticker or whatever,
Okay.
but extremely, extremely rare stuff.
Like,
And
how did they would they have sold those or given those away?
They would have sold them. That's
They
5 cents a pack.
Okay.
Yeah, 5
So
cents
they
a
were
pack.
sold probably around election time.
Right.
Yep.
And I would argue,
Kind of a
so it's
marketing.
1972, right?
Yep.
So I think it was designed to get all the dirty hippies to vote for Nixon.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that
Makes
was
sense.
the whole theory of the product.
Sure.
But we're talking like such an oddball, wacky, rare product. I put a big number on it. I was at $2.50 a box on it.
And now, are those boxes or those cards something that PSA grades? Did you ever find that out? Do they grade the cards?
They would. I mean, it's just,
But are there some graded?
I
I'm
didn't,
very
I didn't
curious.
look
I'm
up
going to
a
look that
pop
up as
report.
we're
You can
talking
look
about.
that up.
Yeah, I want to
So
know if
I'll
there's
tell you
some
something
graded.
while you're looking that up.
Yep.
So this is actually kind of, and this is not a slight against that dealer that we're talking about.
No.
He was a super nice guy.
But he was more mainstream. He was into like the Star Wars and the garbage pail, the
here's
stuff
the thing.
that's
He had bought 72 Volt before.
Did he?
Yeah, so he came over early, and then he kept coming over throughout the show. And then at the end of the show, he's really trying to get it off me, but he doesn't want to pay my price, right?
Sure.
Which is, he's a dealer, like, fair enough, And he goes, hey, I just wanted to show you. He had to look for it. He had bought 8 boxes of 72 Volt with the case for $100 a box, for $800. And so, but this is kind of an important lesson, right? So he's trying to get me down probably to $100, right?
Yep.
And so, and then he probably only wants like the best box, a few boxes, whatever. So it's not a bulk deal either. But one of the things he said was, hey, I just wanted to show you this auction. I just wanted to tell you that's where the market's at. He is wrong. That is a tactic. That is a gambit, right? This was not a mainstream auction house. It wasn't PWCC, wasn't Golden, wasn't anything. And so what I'm looking at, and I even said that, I go, well, that's not really true now, is it? Because...
Oh, I got info for you here.
What's that?
You want me to tell you something? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So 1972 Vote, there is a total of 32 cards in the set.
Yeah.
They say things like peace sign,
Yeah.
super bubble for president, vote for summertime, vote for bigger allowance, all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Vote.
That's
A bunch
for
of them are
kids.
just pure vote.
For kids and hippies. Yeah.
Yep, vote for president, peace sign, all this stuff, right? There is a total of 32 cards in the set, and there are a total of only 31 of total graded.
Graded.
So a lot of them have one graded of each card.
Probably somebody doing the set, doing the greatest.
So you literally, they actually have one short. They have 2 of one and 0 of a couple, and you know what I'm saying? So 32 cards in the set, and there's only 31 total graded.
Right.
But they do grade them. And
absolutely.
looks like most of the grades are, people were smart. They probably opened a pack and
Right.
graded 8s and 9s.
Yeah.
So interesting.
And
They actually
so,
grade these
but
cards.
back to what I was saying, like, when somebody does that, because this happened twice during the week, somebody had a comp, and it was a comp, but it was a false comp.
Yeah, but they're
right?
free to try to
No,
justify
absolutely,
their
absolutely.
offer, right?
If you're trying to buy it, definitely use this tactic, right? But if you're selling,
You don't have to, right.
allow that one event stop you from going, oh, then I must have to sell it at that price. You don't have to sell it at any price, to be honest with you.
Right.
But a obscure auction house. So it's an obscure auction house, right? And it has to sell that week or that 2 weeks or however long they ran it. That means there was enough interest to get that up to $100 a box on a random auction. That's telling me it's worth way more than $100, right?
Sure.
And so
but like you said, sometimes the only thing rarer than an item is a buyer for the item. So,
but that's also telling me, you get what I'm saying? That
Yep.
you need 2 people to bid that up,
Yep.
a minimum,
Yep.
right? And so that's one of those things that definitely use that if you're a buyer.
Well, and I'll say something like this, when it's something that's as obscure as this is, it would be a bad case for an auction, right?
Oh, right.
Because in an auction you need
random 2 weeks, you got to find everybody interested in it.
So in an auction you need 2.
Yeah.
And the more and so auctions are counter by it now is in the sense that you want more people involved that want it.
Right.
So the higher the demand, whereas when something there's less buyers for it, you can set the price really high because you might have the only supply,
Right.
but
And
you have to
only need
wait
the one
longer.
guy
You
to
need the
buy
one.
it.
Yep. So like when you think about cards,
Auctions,
you're gonna
you
auction,
need 2. By now, you need 1.
you need one. Yep. And sometimes you'll get as much for the one, but you just have to wait for the one to come along.
Well, the other thing,
you know?
too, is especially when you have something really obscure and you're looking for the one, you don't have to discount your price because the one will pay whatever is reasonable.
Yep.
And so you might have something like, someone will give me $200 for this. A lot of people make the mistake of going, well, I'll drop the price $50 to sell it quicker. You're going to sell it to the same guy who's going to buy it for $200.
And when he comes
And
along,
he's going to be happy
willing
that
to
he
pay.
saved $50,
Exactly.
right? You know,
Yeah.
he was going to pay $200 for it anyway. You can't speed that sale up. And
Yep.
so on really obscure apparel, or in this case, those vote boxes, you just got to wait.
Right.
You got to wait for that guy to come along.
And let's be honest, the Des Moines show wasn't.
No.
You weren't thinking that was the place that you were going to necessarily sell a
but
bunch.
I had it. And
Yeah, and you had it, and you were going to Chicago, and you already had pre-lined up a potential buyer in Chicago for everything.
And we had a sort of a rough number, and which was the number given for the wax with my commission. And we'll probably talk about this on the next episode, but the number I got, it gave me peace of mind in the sense that number was going to pay for my trip.
Yep.
My commission would pay for my trip if all I did was sell it for that number, right?
Right.
And so what that really did was took a lot of my anxiety away from doing my first national with my first booth, paying the whole thing. I've never paid for a national in my life. You paid for the national.
Yep.
You know, both times I went, I got a free roll. Like I worked, but like I didn't have to pay any money out of pocket. The first national was $300 budget.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
And I got the worst box of archives ever opened in the history of the world. But but like I've never been. So it's a lot of money.
Right.
Right.
There's upfront sunk cost. You're like, now I gotta get. I'm starting in the hole.
Big hole.
Big hole. So I'm literally digging a hole, not knowing if I'm gonna get out of it.
Right.
I'm hoping.
And so by knowing that number, and by the way, I did my research before I got that number. I kind of figured that's where they'd be at. And so it wasn't like I was super anxious anyways, but it was like, okay, cool. Like worst case scenario, I'm probably okay.
Right.
And so where are we at? So yeah, we had a bunch of wax.
Des Moines.
So I only sold like one box.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of the show, as we were packing up, you had already left because you were going back. You went back early because you had to go back to the city.
I went back to Minneapolis to get an SUV to haul my buddy's stuff.
Right.
For him,
So Clint was nice enough. He got an extra car, and he filled up that third car almost exclusively with the. So I bought as much wax as I could.
Yep.
Plus other cars. And then you filled up another car full of wax, and I still got 9 cases in the store.
Yeah.
And so like
that was 9 short.
It was a lot of stuff.
But I knew you wanted the Star Wars. That was a big,
And then so we didn't mention that. So then part of the deal was, we're in Minneapolis, and so was this business. And then so he had 1978 General Mills Star Wars cards. A massive lot of them with like this booklet. I had to deduce this. He didn't remember, right? He didn't remember, but I had to deduce this. But General Mills is a Minnesota-based company, a Minneapolis-based company. It's very clear that this was the remaining stock that General Mills had from when they did their promotion.
Mm-hmm.
They put one card in a box of cereal, and there were certain cereal boxes that had certain cards.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you did 4 UPC codes and $1, you got the whole set plus the booklet.
Yep.
I look up these cards, and the sets, they're 18 card sets, they sell anywhere between $50 and $150. They're what I would call like rare but gettable. Does that make any sense? So
yeah, and they weren't
sold.
And you wouldn't buy a pack with them. You got them as a giveaway only.
Well, you got one as a giveaway in a cereal box, but you could mail away for the set, right?
Yep.
So what happened was like, what was I saying? So, what was I saying?
Star Wars General Mills
Star
cards.
Wars General Mills. Oh yeah, so this is the buyout.
Yep.
And there was a bunch of booklets. There's probably 500, 600, 700 booklets. And we found out a problem.
So the set is 18 cards.
18 cards. But we found a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first got them, I went through about 2,000 cards, and I was like, I'm going to sort them by card, and then I'm going to let people make their own sets at $60 a set, and we're going to clean up, right? Card number 10 is missing.
Oh yeah, we talked about this, didn't we, on the podcast?
No, never.
You didn't talk about the
No,
details?
no, I didn't talk about Star Wars at all.
Oh wow, you told me about this.
I told you about it.
Yeah.
There's no card number 10. Like I found out of 2,000, I found 2 of them.
Wow.
And I'm like, uh-oh. But here's the other thing. Card number 12 was double printed. It's very clear that card number 12 or card number 14.
And which
card number 11.
Which is the rare one?
The Luke Skywalker
Number
with
10.
the vehicle in the background. Number
Okay,
10.
so and number 2, I'm looking at the pop report.
And Han Solo.
What's interesting about this is the PSA pop report doesn't reflect the information you figured out. Because right now with PSA, there's 27 of the 12 graded.
What about
and
Han
there's,
Solo?
And there's
That was double
15
printed.
of the 10 graded. And there's 25 of the Han Solo graded.
Yeah, but here's the deal. A lot of this is just trying to guess what happened, right?
Yep.
'Cause we don't know. It was 1978. I was born in 1978. So these might have been made before I was born. I was born in November of 1978. This is what I think happened. It's one of two things. One, for whatever reason, it was spitting 10s out in the boxes faster than it was spitting out the Han Solo.
Sure.
I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
I think what happened was during printing, and we see this with early top sets,
Sports cards definitely
is
have this.
the way they made the sheets.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, it was skipping that 10 every third sheet or every second sheet, and then Han Solo was showing up double for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what happened was they were issuing sets, and then they ran out of 10s.
Right.
Max and I, and actually Matt helped a little bit too, sorted all these out right for the National. 4 out of 40,000 cards, there were 4 number 10s. And the whole thing, there was about 2,200 of each card, but about 4,400 Han Solo. So it's very clear Han Solo was double printed. And I would assume that one, which wasn't even the good Luke Skywalker. That's not even the one you would want to get.
Do you think there was also some sort of possibility that, like, these were cards that in any way were like a test run?
No, this was a wide release.
No, I'm saying the stuff you got, though. That this was some sort of, like, they ran a batch of everything and then
it could have
didn't
been
put any of
it could have
these.
been a bad bat for some reason.
Yeah. And that card.
The other thing too is what if the Luke it doesn't explain the double print though. See, that's the problem.
Well, here's what would explain the double print or the lack of is they thought that card in this batch wasn't good to go, but the other one was, and so they put out.
What do you
all the
mean
other
by
ones.
that though?
In other words, they ran it, and there's quality control, and they said, we got to pull all of Han Solos are getting pulled, and meaning not going out into cereal boxes, and then all the number 10s were getting put out.
Yeah, but the Han Solo didn't have any. Actually, the Han Solos were generally in good condition.
Okay.
So, no. The other concept
because the pop report shows even all the way across.
Because here's the other. Well, that's
Yeah.
because most people are grading those complete sets.
Yep.
Right.
They had the whole set. Yep.
Yeah, and so either the one other theory is like the Skywalkers were on a part of the sheet that got damaged,
Right.
and so they just weren't like damaged, like they're cut or they're beat or whatever. And so anyway, that ruins the whole complete set theory.
Yep.
And so it also makes it harder to sell on eBay if we can't sell them at the National. oh yeah, I didn't have them in Des Moines. You picked those up.
And you're gonna have to tell us the.
So we will get to that story later, but
Yeah.
but we had them. You bought those to the
Star
National.
Wars are a big part of the value of that collection. You didn't know how
right.
it would.
But it was
transpire.
also the one where I wasn't sure I was gonna be able to make the sale.
Right.
Right. Because it was a big number, and I wasn't gonna. It would be irresponsible for me to move it for super cheap.
Right.
So anything left in Des Moines we gotta talk about.
My overall thoughts are it would be a great show if I lived in Des Moines to go to attend as a collector. Obviously we talked about this. There were some autograph signing guests that that was unfortunate.
sad.
But I mean, it's Fred Jackson. It's
Fred,
not.
what weird about Fred Jackson, he showed up like 2 hours before the end of the show. I think that was a scheduling thing for him. I can't imagine that they were like, oh, this is the perfect time to do Fred Jackson.
Yeah.
Like, no. My guess is he could only do it at that time.
Sure.
But, none of the guys were big draws.
I'll be curious to see if they run another one. I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to going again.
No, I would go again. But
for a one-day drive.
I think if we split a booth, I'd be down for that. And then maybe even bring one other guy.
Yeah.
And just be more, do higher end stuff.
Yep.
Not like I brought a lot of. One of the things that as I was packing up, because I was like one of the last people to leave.
Yeah.
I almost sold all the 100 cards for $20 bulk cards that I have, and all of the numbered and parallel stuff. And right at the end of the show, there's about 3 people who showed interest in buying the whole thing, which would have been great because I wouldn't have to pack it up. And so right at the end of the show, he goes, I can do $2,000 for everything. And I was at $3,000 or $2,500 for everything. So it was $2,000 for one thing and then $1,000 for the other. And then I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Sure. He leaves, comes back, no room in the van.
Wow.
Not enough room in the van because we're talking
20 months,
15 months devices somewhere around there. And so I'm like, so ended up being a good thing because I made more than that at the National, but I did have to bring it.
Yep.
So that happened. What else happened? Oh, I drove my car. I was able to drive my car all the way in to Des Moines to pack up. So that was kind of cool. I didn't have to dolly everything out. But that's part of why I like to wait. Like, I don't mind being the last one to leave. Because one, I can make I made a few extra sales.
Yep.
And I don't have to fight for the, the what do you call that thing? Gate. Or
yeah, I mean, just the
loading dock.
And the backlog going in and out of the loading dock can be. I will say, I think there's a lot of dealers there that are, first of all, not necessarily like store owners. That are just collectors that decide to set up.
I think almost everybody who had a shop was there.
But think about this. There was a lot of guys that I could tell near the end of the show were probably feeling like you and I were, in the sense that, like, we came all the way here, we did all this. We want to sell some stuff. So the last day, I had eyed up a bunch of cards that I wanted for Chicago.
Yeah.
One of them was a Bowman Griffey rookie PSA 10.
Oh, nice.
I had sold that card for like $800 back at the peak, and was thinking about buying in another one. They're all the way down to like $375.
Yeah.
The guy had like 3 1/4 on it. By Sunday, he took $260.
Oh wow!
I sold that for $400 in Chicago.
That is a real thing on a bad show.
Yeah.
Dealers are so. It's
wrongly.
It's
wrongly.
an emotional response.
It's emotional.
Not an intellectual response.
And it's not a good logical. But they're like, hey,
because he could have put it on eBay for $375.
But let's say he doesn't sell on eBay, and his wife's like, you went all the way there, and you didn't bring anything home, And
he wants to have that feel good number.
Yeah.
And so that's a real thing. Like the
100%.
St. Cloud show in the '90s used to be like that. Like nobody would go to it, and then the dealers would just start. Actually, it was kind of fun because the dealers would really start trading with each other and buying and selling, just to get something done.
If you can find hole in the wall shows, I mean, even though it was in Des Moines, it kind of felt that way. But there was some decent stuff too.
Right. And so let's talk about the house. We did Airbnb for the first time.
Highly recommend it.
The house in Des Moines was awesome. If anybody wants to know which house it was, I'm sure I can kind of tell you how to find it. We kind of did it for more people, and it would end up just being me and you. So we got the whole run of the joint.
We had our own room. I mean, it was
really
and it was
nice.
very reasonably priced.
Well, very reasonable.
I mean, part of the nice part about going to these shows in these smaller rural towns is, I just called Vegas today because the industry summit, we can talk about this on another episode, is coming up. I'm thinking about going.
Okay.
I called the Venetian, and I have comped rooms except for on the weekends.
Okay.
Guess how much in the middle of September they want for 2 queen hotel room on a Saturday.
$225 on a Saturday.
I would have bought that in a heartbeat for $225.
Whoa! I would try to go high.
$917 is what they want for a room, and I just go, Mike, I don't know. So like, part of it is about some of
Airbnb,
these.
man.
Well, in some of these big cities, they. Like when they have a big demand weekend. Now this is the start of the NFL season, so I think a lot of people are going to Vegas for the
maybe just
NFL
to
weekends.
gamble
Yeah,
on
to gamble
football.
on football and
Sure.
stuff. And but
Not
still,
for the
I'm just
industry
like,
summit.
no, the industry summit's not the draw. But conventions starting again are,
Yeah.
and the World Series of Poker is coming at the end of the month, so
Okay.
that's gonna definitely raise
Just to be
prices.
clear, the industry summit's not a card show.
No, there is a show there though going.
Is there this year?
10th and 11th. So the schedule is
This is different.
the 10th
Okay.
and 11th have a show.
Okay.
Then the summit starts on the 12th. So there's a
Okay.
show Friday, Saturday. Summit starts Sunday, goes Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm only going to stay probably through Tuesday.
Yeah,
But
so
we're not going to set up at
in
the show,
past,
but
the
we'll go.
industry summit is just for like the movers and shakers and the hobby to sort of get together and share information, and for the manufacturers to distribute information to like bigger dealers, bigger card shops.
And they give
And
they
there's-
give a lot of free swag.
yeah, there's
like,
cool stuff there, but it's not really worth a trip if you're like a collector.
Yeah, no.
I don't even know if you get
Well,
in.
no, and
Yeah.
GT normally you have to pay. GTS is paying our way
Oh,
for
that's
one of
cool.
us. It's like $500 or something.
What is their?
And it includes
why
golfing,
do they
it
care
includes-
if you go?
They're rewarding just their customers.
Oh,
I think,
okay.
for-
So it's a
they're-
treat-
it's
it's
a
a
scholarship they call
benefit.
it, or like
Oh,
a,
okay.
where they're
Because
like,
you
here.
do learn a lot about
Yep.
the hobby there, so that's not.
And
that's
we
not a
we
bad
attended
thing.
it virtually last year.
Yeah.
And they mailed us all of our giveaways.
Oh, cool.
We got like $2,000 in free
yeah.
material. Like we got unopened boxes. We got Montana
But
autos
this is
and all
very
sorts
much
of
an
stuff.
industry insider thing,
Yep.
but it looks like maybe not anymore.
Well, and there's a Friday golf event. There's some really cool, like it's like some of the national. It's like that Southern Hobby Party without
Yeah.
the show going for
The
that, yeah.
insider,
Which
you know,
is
whatever.
nice because it's like a vacation. It's a business expense. We go
Right.
to Vegas anyway.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so
So
a lot cheaper in Des Moines.
Yeah, no doubt. So, but I would look into an Airbnb and just see if you
Oh,
can't
100%.
find a house that, whatever. So I really like Airbnb so far. We did another one in Chicago. That one was maybe not as shiny as
The
the one in Des
convenience
Moines,
though
but,
of
like,
you and I being able to like go to the grocery store and like
Yep.
to be honest, like one of the ways shows are more profitable. One of the ways you profit more is by lowering your expense.
expenses, yeah.
So like it's
Well,
like I can
mean,
sell
and
more or I
and
can
don't
spend
mind
less,
telling
and
what
I
we
could do
paid
both.
either,
Yeah.
right? So, in Chicago, because Chicago was the one we paid $1,700 for the week, and it was it was 10 people,
10 people.
right? And so it was. No, you go, okay, that's kind of a lot, but
No, it's not.
for 6 nights, I had me and my crew all stay for $150 a night. You were $150 a night.
Right.
So by splitting it, we got the cost way down. By the way, $150 a night from me and my whole crew, not per person.
So 1,700. How many days was it?
Let's
Six
round up to
nights?
1,800, and it was 6 nights. So it's $300 a night.
Yep.
And but think about this.
But
let's
tons of
let's
space.
take it another number and
Okay.
say divide it by 10.
Yeah.
It's $30 a person.
Oh yeah.
If let's say 3 of us split a hotel room, that means we're getting a hotel room for $90. That's not happening.
No, and
Like, that's never happening.
Well, not only that,
You're getting it for
we'd have
2.
to get 3 hotel rooms,
Exactly.
and there wouldn't be enough space.
Right.
Because even with 3 people, you're sorting cards on your bed.
And you can do laundry and buy groceries and
Mhm.
like we brought in a cooler
Yeah.
with a handle of Captain Morgan that we kept
yeah,
pouring
yeah.
drinks for everyone. We were like, part of it is after the first day of seeing like mixed drinks were $15 a drink.
Oh yeah.
So all the dealers started showing up at our booth and we're just bored.
Yeah.
I'm like, this could be 15 or this whole thing could be
Dude,
40.
I had the guys
had ice
behind
and
me at the
Coke
National. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
The guys behind me at the National, they're from West Virginia.
Yeah.
They were drinking moonshine the whole week.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, and they're like, "You want some of this?" I'm like, "I don't drink, but I kind of wanted to with them." They were the nice. I'm not gonna jump ahead.
Yeah.
To National.
Just classic.
But yeah, so Airbnb was awesome if you can get the right.
I'll say
price
this much:
on there.
the experience too of just John and I, low maintenance, low
Oh,
pressure
absolutely.
show setting up. Like, it was a very low stress. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be honest. Even if we didn't find good stuff and make some sales, like for me it's not a loss
And-
because of relationships and
Right.
connections.
And we ended up going to the casino. I
yes,
played a little more Hold'em.
Clint made a really bad fold on a hand that he
I
still doesn't want to think about.
I
I would have made
busted
like
out of-
$2,500.
I busted out of like poker like super fast. I made bad plays or whatever. I'm
Still
sure
made,
Clint
like,
remembered every.
My trip, just the
Yeah.
Iowa trip, I was up 1,900 playing.
So
poker
what
and
were you up?
blackjack.
What were you up total for the trip gambling?
Both trips?
Chicago.
2,400.
2,400. You could. No, one of the things he told me is like,
was
oh,
okay.
bro, I could just go to card shows, buy cards, gamble, and
Play
then never
blackjack?
go home.
Play blackjack. I just live on the road and just.
Blackjack and buy cards.
I could make a living playing blackjack if I could find places that would let me play, but you know.
So then,
kinda
okay, so I think that's the show. In
Yeah, Des Moines. I left early Sunday to get back. I left
Yeah.
about 3. You stayed till close at
Right.
5.
Yeah, I was on the road. So my plan was I'm going to Cedar Rapids, and I'm gonna spend
The
the night in
Colonels.
Cedar Rapids. And so I find a hotel, spend the night there. I wake up early, which is not
Yep.
something I do. So this would be Saturday. No, I'm sorry. This would be Monday.
Monday.
It would be Monday, travel day. I get to Cedar Rapids, and I wake up at 9. And I don't have to be on the road till 11 because my plan is I'm going to the Cedar Rapids Colonel team store to buy a couple hats.
Nice.
Like, I'm taking the scenic route to Chicago, right?
Yep.
I'm going to stop in Cedar Rapids. I'm going to stop in Clinton for the Clinton Lumber King, then buy a couple hats there. It's more fun when you go to a team store.
Yeah.
So what sucked, though, was I had 2 hours. I'm watching TV. I'm goofing off. I'm being real slow. I leave. I get in the car. Not even 2 blocks away from the hotel is a Goodwill donation center for bins. I
Like
could have
the
been.
big one.
I could have been.
Explain what that means to people. Not a retail store where you
So
walk through.
if the bins are like the leftovers, then they literally put in a big bin and you dig.
I've been there when people are digging. It's a wild.
Oh, it's a lot of
experience.
elbows, man.
It's a lot of it. It's a great experience. People are like running from one to one to
Yep.
see like, is that something I want to dig closer into?
Right.
And then there's like people like,
And you pay by the
full on,
pound.
like,
You pay by the pound. So
elbowing
people
each-
sometimes
oh,
will
yeah.
find money and then they'll pay by the pound. They'll find like dollar coins and they're paying 12 grams
so
or whatever it costs.
if you
And so I drive past. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me! I could have dug for 2 hours.
and what that means is you could buy it for, instead of paying $8 for a sweatshirt, you might pay $3 by the pound or
dollar.
or
40. I mean, it's
So-
like 79 cents a pound. It's
Pound,
like
yeah,
a nothing,
yeah.
right? And so a sweatshirt's not even 2 pounds.
so it's like a
$1.50.
couple bucks
Right.
versus like 6 or
Right.
10 or
And so I'm like, I can't. I'm like, I kind of slowed down. Like, you got to be kidding me! Literally, I was almost right behind the hotel.
so now we know next time.
I'll Google for thrift shop. And so I drive to the store. I get in there. I looked to see if they were open. I get in there. There's a girl working there, and I'm kind of chatting with her. Of course, it's Monday, and they're away.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't do anything
No,
all
right.
day long. And I'm there like, what's up? I'm here to buy some hats.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking around. I find a couple hats I like. I look up in the corner, like way up in the shelf. There's Timber Rattlers hats. I keep looking at them. I'm like, why? Timber Rattlers is based out of Appleton.
Okay.
The Wisconsin Timber Rattlers. They don't exist anymore. I think they're defunct now a couple years ago. I could be wrong about that. But I'm looking at it. I'm going. So finally I go, why are there Timber Rattlers hats in the Colonel store? And she goes, oh, those were from 2 years ago. We played a Harry Potter game, and the Colonels were Gryffindor, and the Timber Rattlers were Slytherin. And those are the Slytherin hats from that
Wow.
game. I was like, oh, bro. So I go over there. They're all 7s and 8s. You can't sell 7s and 8s. Right?
Like the two
I mean,
most
you can, but
uncommon sizes.
it's just like
Right.
8s you can sell, but 7s you really can't. I find 2 7 and 5/8, and they were on clearance for $10. So I'm gonna list both of those for $50, and those are gonna pay for the 2 hats that I bought at the Colonel store.
Nice.
So that was awesome.
Free roll.
Yeah, and so I'm like, cool. And then I go to Clinton, and this is pretty cool. I get to Clinton. There's an open sign in the window. Their way too. I open up the door. It's obviously the front office. I can see the gift shop with the lights off, kind of in the corner. And I'm like, oh, okay. There's one person in the front office. I kind of walk over to see if there's an entrance to the gift shop. It's all barred up. I'm gonna go back to my car and go to Chicago. And then the door opens, and this guy goes, "Hey, what can I do for you?" Said, "Oh, I'm just stopping by. I'm trying to see if I can buy a couple hats." And he goes, oh, yeah, come in. And so he turns the lights on, and I tell him what I'm doing. I'm like, I'm a hat collector. I belong to this hat group, and, you know, we like logos and all this stuff. I ended up talking to him for, like, over an hour. And he's telling me about, like, New Era and how they do logos and how they pick it. And he's telling me how Denny Hawkins is a jerk. And, like, because he managed for him, he told me, like, the whole story. Like, Denny Hawkins.
Wow.
Denny Hawkins is a horrible person, apparently. Like, and, I mean, he's just kind of a jerk, right? And then, like, how players work and all this stuff, all this great stuff. And I'm like, man, I should have videotaped this. Because, like, the New Era stuff, not necessarily Denny Hawkins
Yeah, I was going to
stuff.
say, I don't know if you want to.
Hey, and so, like, I was, like, really, like, stuff I didn't know. And so we're kind of getting into the conversation. He gets a phone call, and I say, hey, I got Chicago, thank you, and blah, blah, that really fast thing. And I leave, and I'm like, I didn't get his card. I don't know who this guy is. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's the general manager. And so when I got to Chicago, I looked it up, and it was the general manager of the Lumber King.
Nice.
And one of the things he told me sort of gave me a rundown of where he's been, and he was at the Memphis Chicks in 1986. And so when I went to his LinkedIn, he was the point person for when Bo Jackson made his debut for the Memphis Chicks. He was like the one that organized the whole. Like, it was a big deal when he made his professional debut.
Sure.
He was a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
awesome.
he didn't mention Bo Jackson once. I would be like if I went to a pizza joint and I was him and they said, what would you like on your pizza? I would say, I know Bo Jackson, pepperoni. That's how I'd answer everything. Like how do I talk to this guy for an hour? He doesn't mention he knows Bo Jackson.
That's awesome.
So that was kind of cool. Like, it's kind of cool. He gave me a lot of
the
cool.
background of like people don't even realize how much work and how many minor league baseball teams exist, and it's the love of baseball. Like, that's not, these are not
Here's the
big
thing.
time
This
profitable
guy is
organizations.
the general manager of the whole team, and he's the only one working on a Monday.
Right.
Open up the gift shop, sell some moron a couple hats, talking, just answering calls and taking in deliveries and stuff. And
Well, and let's be honest, there's no celebrity to these teams.
But it's pretty awesome,
Most of
though.
these players are never even going to play professional in the big
true.
leagues. You know what I mean?
True.
But,
Because I
but
think
it's cool.
I
mean,
think it's high A.
yeah. I mean,
So that's probably true. Most
the high majority, maybe 10%.
But here's the thing, though: on every team, on every year, there's probably 4 major leaguers.
Yep.
Every year, so you do get to meet quite a few major leaguers and Bo Jackson.
Right.
You know,
Who's the best player that played for the Lumber Kings over the years? Do you know? Who are they the system of?
They're not. They became unaffiliated last year during the pandemic.
Who were they?
And so that was one of the
But
conversations.
who were they before?
Brewers,
Okay.
Angel. They've had like 5 Mariners. There's like 5 different teams in the last 10 years. So he ran down all the affiliates because I was curious about that. I would ask him also. It's a fun baseball question.
Well, it's kind of like the Saints. So the Saints just changed from not being affiliated to being the Twins.
They were an
AAA.
independent
they were an
league, and
independent
now they
league.
are.
So I assume teams come and go.
And I
based on-
asked him about that. I said, like, what makes you change a team? What makes the team change? And, like, I mean, he was – like, that's a whole different podcast. But, like, it was, like, super fun information.
Well, and let me give a couple other more final thoughts, too, on Des Moines before we wrap Des Moines and kind of maybe transition to the early part of Chicago is I actually felt encouraged by just the state of the hobby at Des Moines. Like, even though, like, I think all of us are like, okay, man, prices were down a little bit, I was like, there was a lot of people wanting to wheel and deal, and there was a lot of opportunity to buy. There was a lot of – I did some trades, and I've become – I used to lean in I'm here to sell for cash.
Yeah.
I've started to recognize that every deal, if you make a good one, is beneficial.
Yes.
And if it is, then the quantity of deals I do, the more I do, the better. And so I took on, like, okay, I'm going to do some trades. And I did some really good trades there, too.
I mean, that's a math formula, right?
Yeah.
If you make a 10% gain, however you quantify that,
Yep.
and you do one deal, you'll make 10%. Or you do one deal at $100, you'll make $10. But if you do the same size deal 10 times, you made another $100.
And the
more
reality
deals
is,
you
like,
do,
a
the
lot of
more,
people see, well,
win.
I didn't make it until I cashed it out. But understand, you don't have to cash it out on every deal.
Right.
Like, you can make a bunch of deals and then cash out, or you can, you know what I mean? I used to kind of be like, I used to be a little more resistant, and now I recognize why. Part of it is trading is
it's lower friction, like we talk about, right? Like the lower the friction, the deal, the better.
And this is we'll spell that one. So I like to think our podcast is a way to learn some new terms. And so friction as a business term is anything that gets in the way of a deal.
Yep.
So price is friction.
Fees are friction.
How fast you'll get the product is friction.
I mean, friction.
Do I gotta take a bus to get there? That's friction.
I mean, friction can literally be I have to click on this link to enter PayPal to make the payment.
Yes.
Versus I could.
I can give you cash right here.
Yes.
Or friction could be I'm on eBay, but I can't see the surface of the card, but at a show I can. So there's less friction by having the card in your hand.
100%.
So friction is just anything that gets in the way of the deal. And what you're saying is the cash, the little pulling cash out of your pocket is friction versus I'll give up a card I don't want for a card that I do want.
I traded a guy who had no high-end cards except for a Peyton Manning jersey auto to 30, and I could tell everything else he was selling was like quarter, 50 cent. He had very few case cards. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how this guy got this, but I asked myself at one point, I'm like, do you want to trade that card? And I gave him more value than he was asking.
But small stuff.
In small stuff and some stuff that I thought he both could sell or maybe wanted to collect. Some lower-end slabs, a bunch of 10s of a bunch of, Boba Fett, Luis Robert. I think he had 300 on it. I think I gave him about 350, 400 in trade. All stuff I had graded.
And you're
raw.
talking about stuff that's like $10 stuff, $20 stuff, $5 stuff. Yeah.
It was, and then what I did is I ended up putting 500 on it. I'm pretty sure we sold it or I traded it at the National for a bigger card.
Now, what card was it? It
was a Peyton Manning auto. It was like
year?
a
auto.
Autograph jersey, number to 30. It was like gridiron,
it was like
Donruss
05 or something.
04 to 06 range up. And to be honest, it was like I wouldn't. Part of it is I'm like, I have time. I'm here. I might as well pursue some of these deals. Absolutely. And the worst thing that happened is it doesn't happen. Like I tried to do a deal with a guy on a bunch of bulk slabs that I ended up selling to you because he didn't want him for that price. Right. John's like, well, I'll take him for that. I'm like, okay.
Well, yeah, you said a number, and I'm like, I'll buy those. I'll throw my K-Bed, one thing I'll mention is I did make a deal with another dealer. It wasn't that big of one, but it was stuff that was good for K-Bed. And he goes, oh, do you like Pokemon? And I'm like, yeah, I sell Pokemon. And so he shows me a little stack. I pull out one card that I'm gonna give to Kirby. It's like a base. It's not a base set. I think it's out of it's Team Rocket. But it's really clean but it's like $20. But it's like a nice investment for her to have. Long term. And she really likes that character. But then he goes, you like this? And he throws out a base set Charizard at me. So base set is it's not the first edition. But it's literally the reprint of the first edition. So
it's not a reprint. Don't use the word reprint. It's an original. It's not a reprint.
No. In Pokemon, reprint's not a bad word.
But it's not a reprint.
But it's not a bad word.
But it's also not a reprint. I wouldn't define.
But no, they literally reprinted the set because it's a different set.
No, because a reprint would have the first edition stamp on it.
I understand what you're saying, but I think what we're getting here is the difference between sports cards and Pokemon.
I'm not
Pokemon guys.
It's an original card, John. It's just
I
not
didn't say
the first
it was an original card.
No, because actually the way eBay defines reprint, you either have to choose reprint or original.
Oh, hey, guess what? eBay is not the determining factor.
No, but I'm saying you can't. So
mean.
How can you have an original and a reprint? That doesn't
because it's a literal copy of the original Charizard from the first edition set. It's just the.
But it's not. It doesn't have.
What
the
it is, it's the unlimited version. So first, this is the way it works. In Pokemon, first edition, they only make a certain number of cases and they're done.
It's like numbered,
Unlimited, they can reprint that whenever the hell they feel like it. That's why it's unlimited.
Up to a certain year, right?
No.
Currently,
Pokemon just reprinted Sun and Moon 3 months ago.
Yeah, but the card didn't say 1999 on it. It said 2021 on it.
No, it says 1999. No, but it came out in 99.
No, what I'm saying is right now they're not printing the 1999
They're
Charizard
printing 2018 cards.
Yeah, but it said 2018 on it.
It says 2018. They printed it 3 months ago.
But that's not a reprint it's an original.
It is an original.
Redone in 2018. No one would confuse that as a base set
listen
card.
to me. Sun and Moon was printed in 2018.
Yep.
They just reprinted it 3 months ago and released it as part of that unlimited set.
And so when you open that card, does it say 2018 on the card?
Yes. there's no way to determine that the reprint is any different than the 2018 stuff that came out in 2018.
But
that's
anyway,
a Pokemon.
but your Charizard, don't confuse people. This is not a first edition.
No,
and
not
it's
a first
also
edition.
not a reprint, meaning they tried to tell someone this is a first edition that.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's what you're saying. I'm telling you no.
Man, you're confusing.
But it's a literal. Okay, it's a separate set packed out on its own that looks exactly like first edition.
Except for it doesn't have the stamp.
Except for first edition. That's the only difference between it. So it's a base set. Oh my god.
But a reprint would actually have the first edition stamp, is what I'm saying. They've done that.
What?
People can reprint the ones with the first edition stamps. Yeah, they're counterfeit. Yeah, they see them all the time.
Counterfeit. Yeah, but that's
I'm
not
saying
what
that's
we're
they're reprinting, but they're not licensed to do so. Versus you're saying these
you're
are
talking
licensed reprints.
Fugazi stuff. Like, that's not what we're talking about. This is issued by Pokemon. You don't know Fugazi?
No, I don't.
Fugazi just means fake. It's like a East Coast thing.
Like a gangster term.
Okay. No, it's like an East Coast. Like Fugazi, is bootleg. You know. So
all that to say.
Anyway, a base set, which is basically the second set. First edition, and then base set is the second set. Not first edition, but
it's original.
Yep. It's an original card. Yes, Clint. It's an original card. So anyway,
because I got one too.
Oh, for Christ's sake! So he throws it out at me. It's the most beat up Charizard I've ever seen in my life. A PSA 1, but like, you know how when you say PWCC, we'll do like top 10%, top 20%. This is the bottom 1% PSA 1. Like,
yeah,
it was in a 9-year-old.
The only thing I can say about it is the whole card is intact.
Yeah, there's no cut.
There's no missing
surface
paper.
Yeah,
is there?
There's two big streaks where the foil's just like rubbed off.
The foil is so worn. It's so creased that the foil's actually long.
I don't think so. I think this is my best guess. It was in a 9-year-old pocket.
Sure.
For 6 months, and he showed everybody that he had a Charizard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I was looking at it like I couldn't even make a card look like this.
Yeah, you'd have to literally like,
because he was rubbing it against something and take all that surface off. Yeah. It's awesome. It's the coolest card I've ever seen in my life. And so I'm like,
my buddy Kiki would want it. He wants a PSA 1 of everything. So.
Fair enough. I'm going to PSA it.
PSA 1 Charizard.
I'm going to PSA it just like for fun, right?
Yeah.
And so I show a few customers. I'm like, oh, look at this bad boy. Like, you know, And he goes, oh yeah, those are big. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, I paid it was a lot of cards, and I probably put like $10 on that card. Yeah. PSA 1's at $200.
I know.
I was like, I didn't even know that. Dude, I just thought it was fun.
Hey, I bought one at the National.
Mine might be $50.
At the National, I gave a kid $100 store credit. Or $100 in trade, not store credit. That's what we would say at the shop, but
store
trade. And it's creased.
Yeah.
But it might be a 4 because it's probably going to be the highest.
Why would it be a 4 if it's creased?
That's the highest you can get with a crease. Is a 4.
I thought a 2 was the highest.
No, you can get a 4 with a crease. You can get 3s regularly with creases.
Well, what if you had a full crease all the way down?
It depends on how strong you see the crease.
Oh, okay.
Like if you have a faint crease, but you have to like look at a certain angle to see it, you can get as high as a 4. And the rest of this card is pretty nice.
Then how come I got a 2 on that Miguel Cabrera?
Because you had a significant one.
Well, we couldn't see it for 3 months.
Yeah, but it was they looked at it in black light, and it was so.
No,
it could have been a 4. It could. I mean, it could have got a size of 4, but they determined it was a strong enough crease.
Okay, fair enough.
But anyway, so I have a low grade Charizard too. I'm excited to grade. I'm like, I looked at the same thing. I'm like, oh, even if it's 3s, they're $400.
No, yeah, I was like, he goes, oh yeah, they're like, well, he said they were $350. I looked it up, they were $200 was the low price. I'm like, oh, okay, like that was it.
Gotta grade it.
I made some money on that deal. I just figured somebody would want it for like $30 maybe.
Yeah.
And then as I had it longer, like even the dealers who had it said it became kind of a mascot for them.
I just got grades on your order today.
Uh-oh.
I won't even tell you. I just thought.
You tell me and then I'll tell them.
You tell them.
And then just ruin it.
Actually, I think it's a pretty good order.
So Evan's got order pop.
Yeah, order popped. I can't remember what's.
So that was fun. So stopped at Cedar Rapids, went there.
Should be back Friday or Saturday.
Then I got to Chicago. You guys were already there at the house.
Somehow I made it back from Des Moines to Minneapolis. I Ubered to get the SUV. I came to your shop, filled it up, went home, packed up, and somehow beat you to Chicago. I still don't know.
I believe that was an hour in Clinton talking to the GM
Is
of
that what
Lumber
it was?
King. And then I stopped at an antique store. I was like, I'm going to buy some big card at some antique store. That turned out to be, I had some big cards there, but they were all like
And we
way
just
overpriced.
pretty much pressed through. Like we drove straight. We took 3 vehicles, so we all
Yeah.
just packed up and boom.
You
hit the road.
convoyed.
Yeah.
And then anything weird on the way back, on the way to Chicago?
Other than guys almost getting in a car accident.
Oh,
Well,
that's good
by
time.
the way, I still went on. I don't know. Have you gone on to pay your tolls?
Yeah, I went on. I registered. It doesn't show up.
It doesn't show up. I just was gonna
Oh,
say that to
yeah.
you, and I'm like, what? I'm like, we went.
But you
through
know
'em.
what? They just charged me $4.50 for something.
Who did?
Tollway. I got the email this morning. It said $4.50. I'm like, okay.
How? How did they charge you? How
Because
did they
you
know?
set up your credit card in there.
Oh, so they finally showed up now.
Well, I don't know. One did. So I don't know if they're charging me for that very. Well, it doesn't make sense. I went through like 4.
I
of
know,
them on the way in.
because I thought they're like, oh, you have 10 days. So I'm like, oh, it's been about 7. I
No.
think they're all gonna be there. None of them. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I should log in because I got that. You know how when you get an email, you just see the title and you see a little bit. I saw that they charged my card. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I guess they caught me for one. I don't know.
Illinois sucks.
I'm happy that you had the same experience because I was
Yeah,
gonna
I was like,
call
it threw
them.
me off. I was like, what the heck?
But that was weird. So when I came into Chicago, dude,
Yeah.
like I get to that first toll, I literally stop, and because there's not a lot of traffic, like
Yeah.
for the first
They're
one,
like not taking.
I'm
payment
looking
anymore.
around like, oh man, I'm gonna get a ticket because there was no signs or anything.
Yeah.
And so I sat there for like a minute, and then I'm like, all right, and I went. I guess I'm driving like I'm gonna get a ticket. I'm so mad, blah blah. But then I get to the next toll, which is like 10 miles down the road, and I go, just run through. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, we could have said that on the first toll.
Okay.
I went and sat there. But I'm like, what's the deal? There's nobody here. So, get the house. We go to. You went gambling.
Yeah, we went and crushed it again.
Clint's like,
That was the
I
only
gotta do
night.
more gambling.
Well, and that was the only night I knew that like once the national started,
Right.
like we're gonna be going.
And then
I was
my
like,
old college roommate, Lockheed, flew down from Chicago when he got. You guys were gone, so we ended up going to the grocery store and getting groceries. And then
early setup.
kind of went to
Early setup Tuesday.
bed for the
Yeah.
most part.
I mean, we got over there at like 9 or something and started
Yeah.
setting up.
And so what ended up working out for me is for setup day, so we can pay early to
Yep.
get in.
They
So now
like,
we're
by the
on-
way, when anyone ever asks me, like, how much do these tables cost? I always like think to myself, I go, like, which number do you want? Because like
the real number,
the real number, or
face
like,
number.
or like all the add-ons. They like to add on.
Yeah. So
stuff.
So
Like,
was-
oh, you want to set up
was
early,
it
pay us
Chicago
75 more. If
12?
you want
Was
another
it-
badge, or 65 a piece.
was it
you want-
Chicago 12, and then they bumped it 100.
12.95.
Oh, it is 13. Okay, so it's 13 plus
75 setup.
75, so 1375
65.
plus 3 more badges or 4 more badges?
I maxed out, I think, 4.
Three.
4.
Four?
6 total. 65 a piece.
Okay, so that's another 240. So we're talking 1,700 for the booth.
Yep.
For the booth. and not any
1,700
other
for the
expenses.
booth with no. Yeah. I mean,
No other,
I'd have to
like-
calculate. I think
Our total expense for the trip, not counting inventory buys.
Right.
Like not, I'm not
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about cards we spot. Just food, booths, and all that. I think was probably around 3,500.
Okay.
Somewhere around
I
there.
had estimated about 5, but that was an estimate.
That's
I
high.
mean, we had talked about that.
If you threw Des Moines in there for sure, but
Well, maybe I did when I was
no,
calculating
because
the morning.
I don't think you spent $2,000 because you only spent another 600 on the house, or hold on, what was?
Well, no, the house is 900.
Okay, so 900, so another 11. No, you didn't spend 2,100 more.
I'll have to calculate to see exactly what it was. And now I have actual receipts. I can actually do it.
Yeah.
But then I was doing gas and then just kind of figuring out everything. Like I wanted to get the biggest number I could, so then I could be like, worst case scenario, what is it going to cost me?
Which, by the way, funny story. When you came to the National with us and we did the Southern part, I don't know. We don't need to. I mean, we'll get into the Southern Party in the flow of the chronology of it, but we didn't give you guys the packs you got to open. You guys opened them.
No,
but
yeah,
it
I
was all our
never
cards.
got any.
Well,
I got the open pack.
guys, we were gonna pay them a little bit. We covered all their expenses or whatever, but then we just decided we're like, well, these guys are. We'll just give them their packs, and
Oh,
what they
Lord.
got in their packs was more.
Yeah, let's
than
talk
I would
about
have
that
paid
when
them.
we get to it.
That was unbelievable, actually. The 2 cards that got pulled out of free packs.
No, let's wait till
Yeah.
we get to the Southern Party because we're talking Friday night.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what?
1 hour 25.
Hour 25. All right. So, hey, let's maybe wrap it up, and then we'll start with early setup.
And we'll just crush
So we'll
Chicago.
start early setup for
Buckle up.
next week.
Buckle
And this
up.
is going to be a much more intense podcast will be the next one.
Lots of deals.
Like a lot of
All I
stuff
can say
happening.
is like my brain, I think it took about 3 days after the show. Like the first night, on Monday night, I slept like 10 hours. And my mind was still hurting from the calculations of the cards and the amount of cards I looked at,
Yeah.
the amount of deals we did. Did you feel that at all?
No,
Like your head,
I wanted to look at some more cards.
I was like, literally, I was like, I don't even care about cards.
My
right now.
favorite
like,
part-
that very rarely happens to me. I'm like, I'm good.
My favorite part of the 2017 National was that we went to the National, looked at cards, did deals, did whatever all day, and then we went to a hotel room and sorted
cards.
Bowman.
Sort of.
And sorted like 2 months of the Bowman. Like, I was like, yeah, that's what we're about.
That was a trip.
So, all right, so that's perfect. My guess is next week's gonna be a couple hours.
Yeah.
So
We'll start early and we'll
all the way up here we'll start, and so that's part one. Thanks everybody for listening, and have a great week.